So again, I'm Lissa, she, her, hers, director of the DC Arts and Humanities Education Collaborative, and really appreciate having a chance to see some new faces, new organizations, and some old friends, not old faces, fresh, beautiful faces, but organizations that have worked with us for quite some time. I think this is a really nice mix. And I think that with orientations, it's great to have that kind of mix because you can hear firsthand from your peers about experience and how the collaborative works, and we can brainstorm new ideas together too in these types of orientations. And being a life learner myself, I always like to learn new things. Collaborative, we've been around for, this is our 23rd year of providing equitable access to arts and humanities learning opportunities for students in DC public and public charter schools. We have had over 120 cultural institution members, and we also have about 50 teaching artist practitioner members presently, all coming together around our signature legacy program, Arts and Humanities for Every Student. So I'm going to pass the mic over to our education program manager, Trey, who will walk us through Arts and Humanities for Every Student, also known as AHFES.
Thank you, Lissa, and just thank you everyone for coming. We do have a good mixed crowd, although it's small, of people who have been around for a bit and people who are new. And so we're also just want to give everyone a warning that we are recording this session so that we can share this with those members who may not be able to attend today. It's one of the reasons why we transitioned to Zoom, so that we could have the recording capabilities. And so for those of you who have been around, you've seen AHFES go through several iterations over the past year, and we've finally kind of settled on one that we think is going to be the most effective for our schools and our members like you as we head into the new year. And so Arts and Humanities for Every Student, like Lissa said, is our main educational program where we're striving to connect DC public and public charter school students and teachers with your organizations, with your programming. And so we work with you to ensure that those programming is high quality and that we have equitable access to it. Again, any DC public or public charter school can register and participate. Typically in the non-COVID era, we're helping to arrange buses, we're helping to make sure that your programs are reaching certain quotas. We're arranging with teachers to schedule your pre and post workshops. In a new COVID era, a lot of that's changed to being virtual. And so right now we're in our fall period. For AHFES, we typically have 3 periods. We have a fall period, which is from October to December, winter, which is from January to March, and then our spring period, which is from April through June. This past summer, we've actually explored doing some summer programs, which were really exciting as well. Ashley from INFLA participated in one of those with some summer programs that serve public students as well. And so that's something we're exploring in the future. This year, our lottery process is moving from where all of our teachers have to request in 1 week to being over a more different period of time, and Tracy and Bobine will talk about that in a minute. But all of our programming is transitioning to being focused on asynchronous engagement with supplemental synchronous engagement as well. And so Tracy, could you go to the next slide for me? I'm going to walk through what the distance learning database and catalog look like in a bit, but I just want to clarify again all of the different stakeholders that kind of contribute to making AHFES work. And so it's the DC Collaborative. We're kind of the administrative force behind AHFES. We help to ensure that registration is happening. We set up the registration sites. We do the outreach to the teachers. We ensure that the teachers have the correct information. We also receive the information from you. You probably work directly with me to submit your program information, to make sure that it's edited, uploaded to our website, and then uploaded to our database. And then we'll also provide the assessment piece that Bobine will speak about in a moment as well. DCPS central office and school partners. So our key communicators, our teachers, our principals, these are all people within the school building that are working with us to participate in your programs. And so they will request their programs through us, and then we will relay that information typically to you in a non-COVID year or in a COVID year as well, but in just a new way, and I'll speak about that in a moment. And then there's you, the office providers, and cultural institutions and partners and teaching artists as well, who are providing the programming and making sure that it is high quality and effective, and all of those things that we hear from our teachers that they love about working with you. And so all three of those components work together to ensure that office is working properly. And so thank you in advance for your cooperation with that and for the work that you're already doing. I'm going to toss it off to Tracy now to walk through some of our important dates that are coming up in reference to office. Tracy, you're on mute.
I thought we could make it through one meeting without someone doing that, but apparently not. And I'm also sorry that my mouse is very sensitive, apparently. And thank you to Trey and Bobine and really our whole team for making this pivot so fast to virtual learning. There is some new information about how the program will be run in more detail for that frame, but this is also for members who are new to Office too. So thank you for sitting through some repeat information for some of you Office veterans. So thanks for that. As you all know, December 7th was our deadline for program submissions. It's not too late to submit links for the programs. That is due by close of business on December 16th. We'll be sending teachers out an email to our program catalog on December 14th, so on Monday. We will be, something that is different from our normal program cycles, like Trey mentioned, was that we'll be accepting teacher requests through programming through March 1st. And you can still receive notifications in real time, and Bobine will go into a little more detail about that. All of your winter programs and resources will end March 31st, and February will be accepting, February 1st will open a submission form to accept additional programs and resources for the spring. So Trey, let me switch gears and stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Tracy. I also want to just hop off of what Tracy said, and some of you may be wondering like, oh, well, we have to submit, if we have the same program that we're offering for the winter, do we have to resubmit that in March for the spring? It's not something we've talked about super in depth yet. But I believe that what we'll probably do is kind of like what we're doing with the distance learning resource database, where if you have a resource that was on the database and we're transitioning it to our new system, in our new system, if you're submitting a program for the winter and you think that asynchronous learning model is working for you, your synchronous engagement links are working for you, and you want to continue that to the spring, I think that we would probably allow that. The DC Collaborative, we're exploring what it looks like for distance learning to be a part of our infrastructure now, moving forward, even when schools go back to being in person. So what does it mean to still continue to offer virtual opportunities? A lot of our members have taken advantage of it already. I'll tell you that we're going to, at the end of next week, we will have about 150 different asynchronous virtual programs available to teachers all throughout the District of Columbia. And in comparison to the fall for our winter lottery, that's up tremendously. We had about 30 to 40 programs in the fall. And so this is an extreme increase. And we're very proud of all of you and for all of our members who are participating in that. And so we do foresee this becoming a part of our day-to-day. So what I want to do now, and for some of you, you've seen this already, for some of you, you have not, but I'm going to share and just go through what our distance learning resource database is, as well as what our catalog page is. And since all of you have submitted programs, I'll give a few examples of what your pages may look like. So let me share my screen. One second. I'm so used to sharing my screen on Google that sharing it on Zoom is a little difficult. Here we go. Okay, can everyone see that pretty clearly? Awesome. So I'll just go to what our distance learning resource database looks like in its current state. And so most of you have probably seen this already, but when you log on to our website, there's a button here that says Distance Learning Resource Database. So you click that, and it takes you to this, where we have most of the programs just divided into visual arts, performing arts, and humanities, and then subdivided further into the grade bands. We also have an additional resources page and a professional development page as well. And so when you would click here, you say you want to do performing arts, middle school programs, and you'd see these programs that scroll down and kind of like some brief information. You click here, it would take you to a link. And so this is what we've had since March. And have been using as an addition to our office lottery. The way that we're transitioning now is that this database will be the hub for all of our programming. And so all of our distance learning resource databases are now, distance resource database programs are now a part of Office, if the member decided to make that transition. And so the database is going to look like, once we open it up at the beginning of January, like this. And so one of the things you probably notice has changed is at this top, there are only 3 buttons. You do not see those other buttons. There's an access form, which Bobine will talk about momentarily. And then the additional resources page is here as well. Teachers will fill out this access form in order to use your programs. You may be asking what those programs look like. So on our database, you guys will see a little bit behind the scenes right now what we've been working on. On the side, we have all of these programs that have been submitted to us, and they're hidden. And so what will happen is teachers will register for the program, and then we'll send them a link to this hidden page. An example of what one of these may look like, and I'll use Gala Hispanic Theater as an example right now. But this is a performance that they have, a recorded play that they've done. And this is just a page for them. And so when you go onto the new database, you won't see any of these buttons here. You'll only be able to see this page if you're a teacher or if you are a key communicator. And then when you scroll down, there's more additional information than we're currently offering on the database. And so there's a short summary of what the performance is. We go over the content areas, the discipline, the type of resource that it is, learning standards, grades, the length of the performance. New things that we're adding are additional languages. A lot of our members have offered or offering programs that are in more than one language, as well as various accessibility measures. And we're also letting teachers know if the program or resource is accommodating of students with learning or developmental disabilities. When the teacher scrolls down, they'll see that in this case, this member has a password protected video. And so we'll include the password here, and then the video is directly embedded onto the database. And then if you keep going, you'll see we'll have a study guide also embedded for the teachers to use or the students to use. And then at the bottom, there's this button here that says this program has synchronous engagement offered at no cost to schools. And so Gala will do a post-workshop or supplementary engagement with any teacher who receives the links to this upon request. And so they would click here to request that synchronous engagement. And Bobine will also talk about that in a minute as well. But this is what a general page will look like on the database. And this is what a teacher will be receiving a link to engage in that program. And so the way that they would learn or they would find out what programs are being offered are through our catalog page, which is on our website. And so teachers would then be sent here, and they'll get this information next week. They click on the Office Online Catalog for Schools button, and that'll take them here. And if you look, there are a ton of programs here right now, but there's a way to divide it up so that it's a little easier for teachers to see. And so we've changed something. If you're used to seeing the catalog in previous years, we no longer have dates here. We've changed that to just being content areas and discipline. Since these are asynchronous materials that are not restricted to a specific date. And so this Gala program, or one of them, like I mentioned, if a teacher was interested in participating in this program and they were in pre-K, they can also jump to various grade levels to see what programs are being offered, they would click here and say, okay, this is the content area, this is the discipline, and it'll take them to that organization's page on our database where they can see the summary. They can see the same thing that will be on the resource page on the database, except for the resource itself. And then when they click here, that would take them to the access form to request that program. So that's just a little bit about what the database itself looks like, and a little bit about what the catalog looks like on our website. And I'm going to try and exit out of here now. I cannot figure out how to stop sharing my screen. Does anyone know how to stop sharing their screen on Zoom? I cannot see anything. Oh, here we go.
Okay, Trey, I think.
And so, yeah, now I'll pass it over to Bobine to talk a little bit about what the access form is, as well as what the synchronous engagement process is for teachers for your programs that are not asynchronous.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bobine. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Education Programs Coordinator, but I'm also the Interim Manager of School Partnerships. So I would like to talk to you a little bit about the school-facing information. Launching next Monday, educators, teachers will be able to, like Trey have mentioned, browse our website and read our catalog pages of your organization and request those programs by submitting the winter programs access form. On the form, it will have a drop down, like a whole drop down of names of the organization and the title of the resources. And teachers can select as many as they apply to their student learning goals. The teachers are required to tell us school and student information, such as grade, number of students utilizing the resource, accessibility requests. And because we would like to track the approximate timeline of when the teacher and students will be engaging with the resources, especially for assessment purposes as well, they will select a preferred week to receive the resources, and we will email them early that week so that we know that on that time frame, the teacher will be engaging with the resource with their students. Also new here, teachers will be agreeing to complete their teacher and student reflections for assessment as well. And for those organizations who showed interest in providing supplemental synchronous program engagement process, there will be a synchronous program request form, another form, embedded in your organization's virtual program page that Trey have shown you. We'll give you the direct access to see the responses in real time when those requests are submitted. So we encourage you to set up like a Google notification to see the teacher submitting in real time. And once you receive the information from the teacher, such as their contact information, dates and week that they prefer, or any additional scheduling restrictions, you will match it with your organization's availability and schedule and contact on your own and go from there. Next slide, please. And assessment continues to be a very important part of the experience for students and educators. And our hope is that they will have the opportunity to reflect after the program, although it's asynchronous. So we will be adding sort of a different layers of reminding teachers to reinforce and complete the assessment for us. The assessment for teacher and students will be provided on the email with links to the winter programs resource. Reflection forms will be directly emailed to the teachers on the same day. Reflection forms will be embedded to the resource page itself. Also, they will be receiving reminder emails from us. What is important this year and what has been successful in the fall is that the providers reaching out to the teachers for assessment completion. And it could be a quick follow-up about how they engage with the resource and asking them to make sure that they complete the assessment reflection for us. And for those members who would like to receive reports, The DC Collaborative offers analytic services of a report with $200 per program, per report. Next slide, please. And then this is like a sample of how the report looks like. And if you have any questions about assessment, please feel free to email me at bobin@dccollaborative.org.
So I just want to thank you, Bobine, for sharing that very important information. We just want to take a second as well to just address accessibility for our programs. Even though our programs are virtual, the DC Collaborative actually just participated in an accessibility training program, and we are trying to be more invested in that and help our members be more invested in that as well. And so when you completed the submission form, we did ask you for several accessibility measures that your program could take on, even in a virtual format. And so we appreciate you for submitting that information, and we are going to present that on the pages for our members. We do just want to make sure that any program that we're offering can meet the accessibility needs of students. And so if there is an opportunity where you are unable to do that for a teacher, we would then, cancel that program if you're unable to meet those accessibility needs. And we do ask teachers that information in advance as well. And we do, on the synchronous engagement form that we create for you, ask teachers in advance of them submitting to you what their accessibility needs might be. And so if there's an instance where you cannot meet that, we would ask you to either work with the teacher directly to reach an agreement or to cancel that program. We're going to move on now to just what the AHFES fees are. We've received a couple of questions about this, and so I'm going to pass it over to Tracy to explain a little more in depth.
Sure, thanks, Trey. So because we've altered our structure a bit, and also in response to COVID, the administrative fees are pay what you can. So I just wanted to start off by saying that we're really grateful for the partnership of all of our members and prioritizing offering these experiences equitably to the students in the DC public education system, even when their organizations may be experiencing cuts or other capacity challenges. So there will be a $100 listing fee per program, per lottery, that we will invoice at the end of each lottery cycle. And then any payment adjustments will be requested by the provider to the collaborative. So we'll send out an invoice at the end, $100 per program, and then and there will be language on the invoice about who to contact to request any other accommodations. We are in the hiring process right now for a school partnerships manager who will oversee this. There's also the assessment fee for $200 per report is not pay what you can, but that will be invoiced as well. And all of our invoicing is done through member clicks. And that just helps keep us on task, because at this time we can't accept check payments. We are still working remotely. And this just helps us track everything a little bit better. Trey, did you have anything to add to that?
No, just like you said, it is pay what you can. And we do invoice on a lottery-based system. And so some of you have programs that were transitioned from the database over, and I don't believe we're invoicing for those, but say you want your programs that you submitted for the winter to be also transitioned to the spring, we would, even though they're the same program, we would invoice you for the number of programs for the winter and for the spring, even if it's the same information, because of the administrative work that goes into sending that information to schools. So now what I want to do is just walk through our MOU. And so some of you may remember we gave an MOU out for all of our office participants in the fall, back in around August or September. And in that MOU, we outlined that that would just be a fall MOU. And we did that for a few reasons, and I'm grateful that we did that now, is because we were really unsure what the process was gonna look like in totality from August to December. We knew that we were going to be doing virtual programming that long, but in hindsight, we thought, oh, well, maybe we'll be back to school, everything will be back to normal in January. And so we just wanted to give an MOU outlining what that program would be. Now that we are, continuing to do distance learning through the end of the school year, we've created another MOU to reflect these changes and to edit some of the information from last time. And so what I want to do is share my screen. Give me one moment. Oh, sorry, I think Tracy might have to make, oh, there we go. Thank you. So I want to share my screen and just walk through what this MOU document looks like, and you'll be receiving this in an email from us. Also, before I get ahead of myself, you will also receive a link to your draft of your distance learning platform page, and you'll receive a link to your catalog page as well to confirm with us. We'll go over that in a minute later on. But this is our MOU for the spring and the winter, and it details all of the things like our responsibilities, that you must be a member of the DC Collaborative. If you're not a member of the DC Collaborative, you can put that in the chat, and Wendy or Tracy will reach out to you about how to become an official member with us. It talks about the program submission form, that they must be submitted by a certain date, which all of you have because you were here. We also put just recommendations about when the program should take place, as well as professional development. We outlined that it must be synchronous, and that office providers must host, or it must be asynchronous, but office providers are responsible for the scheduling of asynchronous programming. We're adding information about intellectual property as well for some of our members who can only have a certain number of students view their information. We detail the listing fee, assessment services. We also talk about our equitable outreach strategy that we use for our office program. And we also include information about diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, and just what our requirements for that would be. And it's just to show that we are committed to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility through our programming. And so we do recommend that your department, or it doesn't have to be your entire organization, but the people who are working directly with the students have some type of DEI statement or practice, have participated in some type of anti-racism, implicit bias, or systematic oppression training, or you have some type of description to show how your practices and learning are inclusive. And that's something that you can provide to us, or if you have further questions, you can reach out to me and our incoming school partners manager about as well. We also talk about our waiver of liabilities, something that we're including this year on the access form. Because you are unable to be there directly with your students in the program if it's asynchronous, we are having our teachers fill out a liability form, just saying that the DC Collaborative is not liable for any injuries or anything that may happen from an asynchronous program since we are not there. And that language is something that teachers will see as they're filling out that access form requesting all of our programs, no matter what the risk level is. We think that it is important that teachers just have that.
And just to add in really quickly, if you have any requirements, either with the intellectual property or the liability that you have for those using your programs, that just needs to be communicated ahead of time to us.
Thank you, Tracy. We also have information about like background checks with DCPS. And so if you're working with a DCPS school for your synchronous program, you will need a background check in the case that you're working with the same group of students more than one time. And you'll be sharing video with the students, and the students will be sharing their video and audio back. So for example, if you were having a Zoom class like we are right now, and you are going to meet with this same group over a course of a period of time, you would need to get a background check and approval with DCPS. They have, for the fall, I believe, forgone with the TB test results since we're in a virtual environment, but they are still quite serious about the background check. And so we do include information in the MOU about how to go through with that. And if you need assistance with that, you can let us know. It's a pretty easy process. And they have set up several locations throughout the city where you can get a background check. And so you do not have to go to the DCPS central office anymore. But it is very important to note that if you are engaging with students in a routine manner, which would be more than one engagement. We also have our media release form for our teachers as well as for you. If you have you want to share anything from a synchronous engagement, like a screenshot of the students for your own marketing. And then towards the bottom, we go over just what your acknowledgments and requirements are for participating with AHFES, as well as what our obligations and responsibilities are to you. And so we review the logistics of the program, how we will go about our outreach to students and to schools, where we'll list your information, any of the responsibilities that we as the DC Collaborative will have in order to more engage your programs. And then it's just at the bottom, you would sign and return to us that sheet. And so this is something that you will receive most likely next week. And would have a turnaround time for January, the end of the first week in January. If you need an extension, that's okay. We would mostly be fine with that for the asynchronous learning. For synchronous engagement, we would probably like to have the MOU prior to that start. But this is a new MOU. And so if you participated in programming with us in the fall, this is a separate MOU from that. This does not cover the fall MOU does not cover the spring and the winter programming. And so all of our members, regardless of when they are joining us, would need to sign this new MOU. And the last thing that we'll discuss is just our professional development. Some of you have been submitting professional development opportunities to us, and we're very appreciative of that. We are still collecting them throughout the year, all virtual professional development, and are putting them on our PD website. Wendy, who is puts out our newsletters for our members in our schools, sends those professional development opportunities throughout the year. And so we will update them on our website, and then Wendy would send them out to whether it's teachers or members. And so if you have them, reach out to me and I will submit them on the website and then send them to Wendy to get them to our stakeholders. And so that is all that we have to present, but we do want to open up an opportunity for everyone to ask questions if they have not been answered in the chat yet, or if they are just new things that we did not cover that you might want clarification on.
Yeah, Trey, there Ashley asked a question about our synchronous request form, whether they'll have a chance to review it beforehand, and maybe, yeah, if the questions can be altered or anything. Is that
yeah, so we created a template for the synchronous engagement form that we think will cover most of what you want to know, but we will share it with you if there are questions that you want to add that are more specifically targeted. I know that you offer 3 different programs for Thinking Routine Thursday, and so it may be more effective for you to know which specific program would the teacher like to engage in. And that would go for any of our members as well. I wouldn't mind sharing that sheet with you and allowing edits, or sharing the form with you and then you letting us know what the edits are, and then we can make them on our end. And you can still have the Excel.
I have an additional question. This has been, this is a change for us, but it's also going to be a change for the teachers. So what is the outreach to the educators so that they understand what this is and how to access it? Is there the potential for engaging teachers who wouldn't under normal circumstances be interested in?
Yeah, so
like, what does that look like?
Tracy, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure, I did. Thanks, Trey. So December 14th, we're launching and sending all of the teachers this resource. We are just our hiring timeframe for the school partnerships manager. We're making an offer by the 18th of December. So Bo Bean has been doing 2 jobs really, really well. Well, our whole team is a rock star, but she's doing 2 jobs. We have a communications plan that we will set up, and Bo Bean is having a similar Q&A in the beginning of January with teachers. So they'll receive communications. There's also sort of like, I'm calling it our terms of service, because we're not having like a specific partnership agreement with teachers this year or this winter and spring. There's a document that kind of lays out their responsibilities and some of the liability language that we've also put in the MOU. So and we're actually, the key communicator role is still very important. That's like our everyday advocate within the school, but we are expanding to other teachers. We have a list of, I think, like 920 teachers and administrators that will all get this information on December 14th. And then we have this Q&A scheduled where they can follow up and ask questions right after in the new year when we get back.
Yeah, and also on top of what the Q&A session, I also, similar to what Trey did, I'm going to embed a video of a rundown of how things will work differently this year in a short video in the access form, so that they have a better understanding of the submission process and how they'll receive the link from us and all sorts of things.
And I'll add to that too, that one of the cool things about this new process that we actually got from DCPS advised us on this is the fact that teachers do not have to only submit their program request in 1 week. And so the way that it worked with us previously and even in the fall is that teachers would have 1 week to signify all of the programs that they want to participate in throughout the entire fall lottery period. We're changing that because teachers have, and a lot of you have experienced, have changed their schedules a lot. And sometimes they don't know what they'll be able to do in February and December. And so even if a new teacher is coming along and they just find out about AHFES at the end of January, they don't have to now wait until April to participate with us. They can come in and join right away and engage in your programs. And so it really gives us an opportunity to, it doesn't limit us to one time frame for engaging with teachers. It gives them more opportunities and more gateways to engage in learning with us and with you.
Thanks for answering that question, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, I have a question also, and I think, Trey, you might have referenced this once when we talked a little earlier. For those teachers who are particularly interested in synchronous programming opportunities, will the catalog that they see that's listing all the asynchronous for those programs that also have a synchronous option? I know once you go deeper into the page, it will be there, but in just that first catalog, will there be maybe some kind of icon or something that indicates at a glance so that teachers can know before they read on further that there's a synchronous option there?
That's a great idea. That's a great question. We currently don't. I had been recommending to members to put that information directly into the summary of your submission, but maybe that is something that we can explore adding to the submissions on the catalog page, saying like putting an icon or just italics with an asterisk that says synchronous engagement available. I think that would definitely be a lot helpful for our teachers. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and thank you. And when part of what helped me think of that was looking at when you showed us the page, it looks like they'd have to actually click on our description. I did also in our description include synchronous in our little blurb, but there you still have to go one click through to get to that blurb, I think. So thank you for considering that, and thanks for answering the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's a great idea. This whole year is basically a pilot, a very well thought out pilot that we've had to pivot a couple times. So any suggestions are welcome and needed, I guess. So thank you. Are there any more questions or suggestions? Okay, and I also wanted to just thank you guys, our members, for still prioritizing, reaching out to schools. I know you guys are mostly the education contacts, but thank you for being advocates within your own organizations too. I'm sure since there are other, might be conflicting priorities or cuts, but I also really wanted to thank our team, including Lissa, Wendy, Bobine, Trey. We've had to pivot a lot, and every single person has jumped in and helped with that. And Trey, I just think that you're a great leader, and I appreciate the path we're on. So oh yeah, and our interns, we wouldn't be able to survive without them. So yeah, thanks to everybody.
Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate that, and I echo exactly what you said for our members. A lot of our members, to be frank, we've been struggling for the past few months. We haven't had any congressional relief since April. Many of our members still have the majority of their staffs laid off, particularly our performing members, our ballet companies, our theaters, our concert halls. And so we know that it's been a really tough year. We know that next year we have high hopes, but that beginning half of the year will be tough as well. But we're excited to have people who are committed to doing this work for students and for the school district, and for offering whatever we can offer, and for doing the best that we can do with what we have. I said this in our last Q&A, but I think that all of us for a while were building the plane while we were flying it. And now we're trying to build a better plane and have a better flight. And that is our goal for the winter and the spring. And so thank you for being on that flight with us. We hope it's going to be a good ride. Hopefully not as much turbulence as before. But if you have any other questions, or if you have any comments or suggestions, we are none of this pivot would have happened without your suggestions, and the suggestions from our teachers and other stakeholders. And so please, 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 if you have challenges with the process and you have ideas for how to improve them, please share them with us, because they may improve them for other members as well, which is really important for us. We're open to all ideas. Yes, Wendy, when the vaccine gets released, I saw something on CNN that they might start doing the vaccine today, or they may approve it today. So get your arms warmed up, because CVS will be ready, and I will too.
Hey guys, by all means, you've done an excellent job, but I also still have a question. I heard DCPS a lot, which makes sense because it's a centralized authority, but for the charter schools, I'm just curious, it's been a while since we've had a status update. What are you hearing from them? How are things going? What are they asking for?
That's a great question.
Yeah, it's obviously, you just referenced, it's more of a moving target with public charter schools. There are still charter schools that are actively engaging in our programs, but I think Lissa's nodding her head. I think she knows, we've been working together long enough where she probably knows where I'm going, because she just suggested this at one of our other convenings, that we need to have an update from charters, similar to, we had a fall forecasting series, and DCPS gave an update, charters gave an update, and out of school time gave an update. So I think it would be nice to hear from charters again in the new year when we get back from break. So thanks for that suggestion too, Caitlin.
I've been telling members as well that at times, specifically with synchronous engagement, it's been a little easier to communicate with the charter schools. Just to be frank, because they're only responsible for their school building. And so they have a little more flexibility on what platforms they can use or what time frames they can use when they can change their schedules than DCPS can. And so it's like Tracy was saying, every school is a little different, but we should reach out to the charter school board just to see what their overarching regulations are. But I think in terms of synchronous engagement, they have been really rock stars in that regard, and being very flexible and open. Any other questions?
Okay, well, we took it to 11:59, so we're still ending the meeting early. So if anyone has more questions, you definitely know where to find us. And we'll share out this recording too, in case you need a refresher later after we get back from the winter holiday break fog. So please reach out to us if you need anything, and thanks so much.